Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today I'm coming at you guys with 5 fragrances that remind me of Jeremy fragrance. Now I did one of these before about my friend Manny at Cascade Scents, fragrances that remind me of Cascade Scents and the reasons why. And when I did that video, I said I was going to be making more of them, talking about other fragrance YouTubers. And I just hadn't gotten around to it, and now I finally am. So I figure, why not tackle the biggest one of them all, Jeremy. Now, Jeremy did recently redo a video on fragrance reviewers he watches, but that has nothing to do with this list. I already had this thing ready to go, at least in terms of the fragrances and everything. So let's jump into this, check these fragrances out. All right, the only real rule here is that I'm not including any fragrance 1 fragrances. So no office for men, no date for men, no unisex for everyone, none of that. I mean, that'd be too easy, it'd be kind of a cop-out, even though the fragrances I picked probably are too easy within themselves, but whatever. And I'm sorry I didn't give you guys a spin at the beginning of the video. I gave you a clap, pretty good clap, I feel like. I should have rolled maybe an office chair out here. I could have spun in that, but okay, so let's jump into this. First fragrance, most obvious fragrance, I feel like, Nuit de Lome, Yves Saint Laurent. Pretty sure 90% of people are gonna give you that fragrance. If you ask them, hey, what is the one fragrance you most associate with Jeremy fragrance? Nuit de Lome, I feel like, is the first fragrance, at least for me, that I can remember that Jeremy really got behind and hyped up and had people just buying like crazy. So everybody that was getting into fragrances around that time that was watching Jeremy was buying Nuit de Lome. Of course, Jeremy was talking about it, how it got him hyped up, how it made him want to smash his head through the wall. And people dug that. And they bought a bunch of Nuit. This one's got lavender, cedar, and bergamot as some of the notes, but of course, the main note that people know from it is cardamom. And nowadays, Nuit de Lome is almost the go-to cardamom fragrance. If somebody asks you, what's a fragrance that has a lot of cardamom, so I can get to know how that fragrance note smells, people say Nuit de Lome most of the time. Now, of course, cardamom can come across a bunch of different ways, but that spicy, sweet sexiness of cardamom, the way it's used in Nuit de Lome, that is what a lot of people associate that note with nowadays. And for an entire generation of guys, as far as date night fragrances go, Nuit de Lome is going to be one of, if not the absolute top fragrances. And one of the big reasons for that is the hype that Jeremy drummed up toward that fragrance. So Nuit de Lome, fragrance number 1. Fragrance number 2, also one I feel like is super obvious as far as Jeremy fragrance goes, and that is Montblanc Individual. This one has a whole bunch of notes: vanilla, cinnamon, sandalwood, lavender, and most well-known, raspberry. And this one is one that Jeremy likened to a raspberry dryer sheet. So basically those dryer sheets, they will throw in the dryer to make your clothes softer if it were raspberry scented, something like that. That's how Jeremy put that across. And when he did, you saw people everywhere talking about this fragrance, smelling exactly like that. On Fragrantica, on Base Notes, on forums, on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere. That's what people were saying. I remember one video, I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember one video where Jeremy actually pulled up, I think it was like the Google search metrics for Montblanc Individual, and you could see just an enormous spike where Jeremy started talking about the fragrance. So it was just kind of down here, like flatlined almost, and then all of a sudden took off, and everybody was searching for it and buying it. Of course, the fragrance has really good performance. It's an attention grabber. It doesn't cost all that much money, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of, and it bears a striking similarity to Creed's original Santal. So that right there made it even more appealing. Put all that together, and Montblanc Individual really took off. So that is another fragrance that for me is kind of tied into Jeremy fragrance forever. And going from one fragrance that's very affordable to another, Salvatore Ferragamo F Black. I remember Jeremy bringing this one up all the time in years past. This one has tonka and black pepper, coriander, and lavender, some of the main notes in the fragrance. And this is one that in the US, even to this day, you can find fairly consistently at TJ Maxx and Ross stores across the US. And of course, at discounters online, you can find it readily for really next to nothing. If memory serves, it kind of hovers in that $20 to $30 range, right in there. So this is one that, especially in the earlier years of Jeremy's channel, got brought up pretty consistently as an attention-grabbing fragrance, a potential compliment puller that wasn't going to cost you all that much money. It's definitely, at least in my mind, below Individual and below La Nuit de Lome as far as how much I link it to Jeremy, but he's the first one that I can remember that really kind of pushed that fragrance as, you know, this awesome scent. Whereas before, people knew about it and it did have some fans, but not at all like it did after he started talking about it. So F Black in my mind is kind of tied right in there with Jeremy, but just not quite as much. And I guess let me really quickly bring up a few fragrances that are maybe not in my official top 5, if you want to call this an official top 5, but they're fragrances that do have some memories for me with Jeremy or associated with Jeremy. So first up, kind of a twofer, Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male and Paco Rabanne 1 Million. One of the early Jeremy videos, I don't know if it's still on his channel, it may be, I didn't search before shooting this, is Jeremy comparing Le Male to 1 Million. So he's kind of sitting at a desk talking about the two fragrances, the pros, the cons, you know, what he likes more from each one. And over the years, Le Male and 1 Million and the flankers of those fragrances have popped up countless times on his channel and on his Instagram. So whenever there's a new one, you know you're gonna see it on the channel, you know you're gonna see it on Instagram, and he'll pretty consistently, at least from what I can tell, bust out the OGs of each one of those. And I completely get that. There are fragrances that I came up with that I still bust out from time to time. And it's just kind of one of those things, you know, the fragrances that really get you into fragrances, you keep going back to them because those are the fragrances that really kind of kindled your love for fragrance in general. And a lot of times they bring back good memories. They bring back feelings of the past, etc., etc. I'm not gonna, you know, go down that rabbit hole right now, but Jeremy still brings those fragrances up and I can still remember those early videos where he was talking about them. So those are kind of linked to him in that way for me. And then one other one, this is not in the official top 5, is Icon Racing from Dunhill. And the reason that one is kind of associated to Jeremy in my mind is because I remember when Icon Racing was brand new, when it had just released, he did a smell and rate video with it. The lady that was smelling Icon Racing was like, oh my God, this is amazing. She gave it like a 10 out of 10, I think. And immediately on the Facebook groups, people were just going crazy. They're like, have you found Icon Racing? Where can I buy it? Where can I get it? Oh my God. Because in this one video, this one girl said it was the 10 out of 10. And I did find a bottle, I think on like Fragrance Direct or something, and I ordered it. And for like a week or two, Icon Racing was the new hype train. It was the thing that, you know, everybody was all aboard, full steam ahead. Icon Racing is the new hotness. And then what was so funny is Jeremy had back, I think, the same lady for another smell and rate, and Icon Racing was in this one as well, and she didn't really like it. So she went from loving it to not really liking it, you know, a couple weeks later. And then that hype train was just like derailed. Everybody was like, oh, dang it. And so for that reason, Icon Racing is still kind of linked to Jeremy a little bit for me. And the second video that he did with that lady with Icon Racing, he was like, you said you love this in the other one. And she was like, oh. And it was just kind of a funny moment, and linked it forever, the fragrance forever to him for me. Okay, back to the official top 5. So the next one is gonna be from Giorgio Armani. It's Aqua di Gio Profumo, or even Aqua di Gio Profumo Special Blend. Aqua di Gio Profumo, of course, is the Aqua di Gio that introduced incense into the mix. So it gave it that little bit of a mysterious kind of vibe, made it where you could potentially wear it in the fall time in cooler weather, but still had extreme versatility and a compliment factor. And Jeremy loves himself some Aqua Dijo Profumo, and again, especially the special blend, because I can remember him posting pictures with just like a mountain of Aqua Dijo Profumo special blend bottles. Of course, that was a limited edition. It is pretty hard to get now, so he may have been onto something there, but I can still remember that very vividly, and a lot of people had posted that picture up with Jeremy just with his mountain of bottles, which I think he also did for Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Eau Fraiche, but I could be wrong there and could be misremembering. But yeah, Aqua Dijo Profumo, if you've watched Jeremy's channel for any length of time or followed his Instagram or anything like that, you will have seen that fragrance pop up a number of times. And when it first released, he was really all about it. So Profumo / special blend has to be on the list. And then the last one is Varvatos Artisan Pure. And I feel like that has to be on there because Jeremy right now with his all white suits, always having the white bottle of Artisan Pure and spraying it on, talking about how much he loves it. It's got to make the list. This fragrance, very clean. It's got a lot of citrus. It has petitgrain, it has thyme, and it's just a great summer fragrance. Really, really solid for daytime. You can wear it to the office very easily. You could wear it on a date if you wanted to, especially in the warmer months. You see it all the time in his videos nowadays. He sprays it on, he puts him in a good mood, it seems like, and it really matches the whole aesthetic right now, the white suit and all that. Like I mentioned, the white bottle just goes right along with it. So as of right now, 2020, Artisan Pure for me is the fragrance that I think is most intrinsically tied to Jeremy fragrance. But you never know though. I mean, you could go back to the black suits and go a different route, and then Artisan Pure falls by the wayside. Never know. So there are the fragrances that remind me the most of Jeremy fragrance, and hopefully it won't be another 4 months before I can do another YouTuber. Wait, that sounded wrong. Hopefully it won't take another 4 months before I get around to doing another 5 fragrances that remind me of another fragrance YouTuber. And if you think there are any really big obvious fragrances that I left out, leave them in the comments below, but it is kind of hard to whittle everything down just to a few fragrances, because I know over the years there have been countless fragrances that Jeremy has really loved, or people that have been on his channel really loved. All right guys, it's gonna do it for me. As always, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.